Good morning, Rotary Club of Centennial. Hey. Okay, please make sure to silence your cell phones. Barb, you have our pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Scott, you have our inspiration today?
All right. We are thankful for this day that you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, its challenges. May we appreciate and use each day that comes to us. We ask for strength and guidance for each day as it comes, for each day's duties, for each day's problems. May we be challenged to give our best always, and may we be assured of your presence with us. Amen.
Please take your seats. Mary Alice, you have our Rotary Minute.
I do. Never know. I have a question to ask you. How many volunteer hours do you think Rotarians donate every year? 10,000, he says. Any other guesses?
What?
Million.
Is this worldwide?
Any other guesses? No, all Rotarians.
1 million.
1 million, okay. Any other guesses?
2 million hours?
Any other guesses?
2 million hours?
2 million? No? Is there a price? Actually, we donate over 47 million a year. And the interesting thing about this is Johns Hopkins Center for Civil Society Studies, say that again, did a study for Rotary International to find out how many hours and what their worth was to the country, or to the world, actually. And they found out that we donated about 5.8 million hours during a 4-week period. And so they extrapolated that, but they said they went to great lengths to tell you that on all the different stopping points of the survey that they did, that they took the most conservative look at it. So they were trying not to overestimate. And so that came up with the 47 million hours. Now, how much do you think that's worth? If the cities and the communities had to pay for that? $500,000, says Phil. Oh, $500 million. Actually, $850 million worth of service if the communities had to pay for that service.
Wow.
And they also emphasized all the things that didn't include. It didn't include any of the Rotaractors or the Interactors. It didn't include any of the money that the clubs actually contribute to different projects. It's absolutely amazing. So when you get asked by Angie each month to turn in your service hours, this is part of the reason that we're asking for those, so that they can kind of keep track of what the value is to the communities for the service that we donate.
Great.
Keep on serving.
Thank you, Mary Alice. That is a large number. Tim, you have our business minute, or few minutes?
Well, I did, but we have technical difficulties over here. I don't know how many of you remember, but last year my company was nominated for the Better Business Bureau Torch Award, and we were one of the finalists in the competition. And one of the things I was going to show you was the little film that the Better Business Bureau did for all the finalists, but we just don't have it today. But in the meantime, we have been nominated again this year.
Oh, great. Oh,
So-
congratulations.
We should know something in the next couple weeks about whether we made the finals or not, and then we have to wait until the big dinner to find out if we won or not. Any questions about my business?
I will get you signed up for Business Minute again 2 weeks. How about that?
That sounds good. We'll do that. Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Tim. Well, I just want to thank everyone who helped today or is helping today. We had set up, I know, John, that you were helping, John Bellum, and of course, Paul I saw helping, as he does. So thank you so much. Takedown, I have Tom Buck. Greeter, Cheryl, thank you so much for that. And Scott, your inspiration was amazing. And Barb, thank you so much for the pledge. Do we have any visiting Rotarians today?
Brett's here.
Oh, Brett. I recognize him. Any guests? Rob. Rob is back, so I know he's been traveling, so welcome. We will be, he's already applied, so we will be looking at his membership application. Woo. All right, so let's, yes. Roger?
Roger Cab. Is it? Okay, all right, there we go. Roger Cabbage is a developer of water filters, and he's been working with us on the Water Rico project on some alternatives for the future. So I invited him to come to our meeting this morning, and you can all see the difference between his one that he does. Somebody hit it here, but he's got a real system. His system here, and this is the one that we're using for Water Rico. So thank you, Roger.
Great. Thank you, Roger, for coming. So we have some birthdays to celebrate. We have Mr. John McCarty. Your birthday is coming up on the 8th, so please say happy birthday to him. One of our millennials, Katie Guion, is on the 10th, so if you know her, send her a little email, and even if you don't, send her an email, let her know that we're thinking of her. We have a couple of spouses' birthdays coming up as well. Actually, earlier this week was Mike Ober's wife's Chantel's birthday on the 4th, and Gordon, your wife, I hope you didn't forget that yesterday. Tebby was yesterday. Then we also have our anniversary dates for joining Rotary. 3 of us are celebrating 3 years this month. I have Cheryl, myself, and Karen Berry are celebrating 3 years, and then Ann West is celebrating 9. So congratulations to all of us that joined.
September, and it's going to be a lot longer than that.
Okay, well that's...
Oh, 9?
Okay, well, currently it has August, so that's what it is at the moment. So, all right, and kind of moving on, we have a lot of club business. Peach sales, how is that going for everybody? Great. Cheryl?
I want to thank Tim for the sign. I stuck the sign in my front yard. Within less than 5 minutes, I had somebody calling me. And
That's
it was a neighbor. And the other thing is I live 5 doors from a school, so school starts next week, and I'm going to take the signs down to the crosswalk.
Oh, good idea. Anyone else? Peach sales?
I actually had one off of my sign. I live in a homeowners association type thing, and they are rather strict. But then I learned they all went on vacation, and because of that, I've got a sale off of that. I'm not going to be. Last year I was second most. Trip was the highest, and I had 31, and I'm not getting anywhere near that this year, though.
I've got orders and checks. Who do I give them to this morning?
Are we giving them to Barb or Deb, or are we giving them to you?
I'll take the money.
You'll take the morning? Okay.
So will I. I'll take the money too.
Yeah.
When is the deadline?
What was
August
the answer to my
19th.
question?
19th. Deb, are we putting the order, giving you the orders?
I don't have anything yet, except I got one this morning.
No, that's the question. Are we giving them to you or to Barb for orders?
I don't really care. I mean, she does the big spreadsheet. I don't.
Right. So let's give them to Barb.
Thank you.
All right. And Tom Gross, do you want to talk about our opioid medication take back this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a big, busy day at Heritage Eagle Bend. We collected 209 pounds of medication. So the sheriff's department was shocked. They didn't think we'd get that much. So yeah. So it was amazing. It's the first time I've been involved in that, but to get all that medication out of people's homes, and what happens is the sheriff's department takes it to the DEA, and the DEA has an incinerator that incinerates it. So it was a very, very successful day.
Right, it was very successful. I was able to get down there for an hour, and just the bags. And I do have a photo that I'll send to you, John, so we can put it on the website. So it was phenomenal. And this year they had it was a drive-through, so they just dropped things off, and I think that's one reason why we got so much more. And since it was the second one that we've done, they now know, okay, maybe this can be an annual thing and we can continue to do this. So great job. Thanks, Tom, for taking that on. We have a food drive coming up. Karen Fleck, are you here? Yeah. Do you want to say anything?
Yeah, the food drive is coming up on Saturday. We start at 9, we end at noon, and I still have room for more volunteers. Every shift needs more volunteers,
Okay.
like 1 or 2 people per shift. So
Okay.
if you have a spare hour or 2 hours on Saturday morning, please come and join us at the food drive.
And please be sure to go on the website and sign up, because that's how Karen knows people are coming. Don't just tell her. Go ahead and do that extra bit to make sure that it's all documented and we know who's coming. We also have Centennial Under the Stars this weekend. Does anyone have any information on that?
I have a little bit on
Okay.
it. If you go on the website and sign up for it, we still need some people for it. And the dates on it, on when you actually sign up, say July 13th, it's a little hiccup in the Club Runner program, but don't worry about that. It's just for this week. And please sign up. We need a few more people.
Great. And again, go out to the website to sign up for that. And just an announcement, we do have a board meeting coming up on the 14th. Again, it's going to be at Cottrell Printing at 7 a.m. So if you have any funding requests, please get them to me by Sunday beforehand so I can make sure we have them all printed out and the agenda is ready for Wednesday. Now, Ann, you have some information about Meals on Wheels?
Actually, I have a pat on the back for Paul Horiuchi and John Peterson, who pitched in because the John and Karen Barry had a family crisis at the last minute, and I'm getting these emails from John Peterson, and they pitched in, and they had no idea. Barry and Paul and John had no idea what was going on, including the fact that we've a long time ago changed the itinerary number. But thank you so much for doing that, guys. Otherwise, I'd have had to gone.
Thank you for stepping up. We appreciate that. John, you want to introduce Roger and...
Well, I introduced Roger, but everybody, as you know, Mark and I and Water Rico are on the way and coming along. On every table, there's a survey list on who can go and what level of participation that you are able to do. So I would like everybody, you got one sheet on every table, just find your name and tell us how you feel about helping out on this. So it's September 7th to the 16th, Aguadilla or Mocha, Puerto Rico, and we would love everybody in the club to go, and as many people as want to go can go. So please join us. Mark, you got anything else? Okay, thank you, everybody.
Did Roger, did you have anything to explain about the differences or anything like that?
Yes, I sure could just explain just briefly the difference between my device and the Aqua Clara. We kind of came in at the very end, so we're not, well, I think I'll take a few down this year. I'm going to go down and help your club out and help John out and Mark. But I've been volunteering with the Doctors Without Borders for about 12 years now, going all over sub-Saharan Africa, Peru, the Amazon, and Nepal and India. I've been using this one. The thing that sets us apart, I developed this and have it patented, is there's no backwash. That's the fatal flaw to most of these filters, Sawyer's, Life Straw, everybody else, because I've used them all. I've been climbing, trekking, and hiking my whole life, and you have to backwash them, and you shoot water back through them, and that's the problem. This, when you don't backwash, you swirl the water around in a bucket and dump it out. You just do that 2 or 3 times, and you're good to go. You don't shoot any water back through it. It's a 0.1 micron microscopic pores. So the bad thing is when you shoot water back through there, you normally shoot contaminated water. Then the filter is really not going to be effective at all. So we've been using this all over the world, in the Philippines, India, Nepal, all over Africa, and several other countries now, and it's been very effective. Everybody likes it. I've been collecting data too, and I think I'll do that down in Puerto Rico. We'll set this one in some of the leaders' places wherever they want these, and that way they can compare this device to the other one and see what they want to do next year maybe, or for the future. But I like to collect data. I don't see anybody else collecting any data on whether people love them, hate them, use them. Everywhere I go, there's products that are broken down. They're inoperable, not being used. And usually they break within 1 or 2 days, a few weeks, or a few months. And it's a big waste of money unless you really train the people on how to backwash and take care of them and maintain them. So you can come up and take a look. It's very, very simple, but very effective and affordable. And very little maintenance. Thanks a lot. Just take a look, and I've got some brochures, some literature, some of my business cards too, if you guys ever see anybody else that might need something like this down the road. And I think another big part of my deal is the education. I try to educate the people using them, at least some leaders in each community, so they can take care of them, fix them, whatever needs to happen. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much,
Thank you,
Roger. Mark? Microphone.
I got it.
For those of you who would like to come with us, the trip is the 7th through the 16th, but you can come whatever days you want. You don't have to come the whole time. We're going to have training on the 24th, which is a Saturday, and that's at 1 o'clock. And the other training is a Monday, and that's at 6:30. So,
Is there any opportunity for us to help you? Is there any pre-trip preparation for those of us who can't go that we can help you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But thank you for asking.
Now, just a show of hands of anyone who is thinking of going to the RI convention in Hawaii in June? Deb and Gordon. Okay. If that changes, let me know. We have some opportunity. Deb, did you want to share anything with that? That might convince people otherwise.
Deb has a house there, and she has 2 houses there, and she'd like to let. Oh.
Don't mind Tripp. He's just rambling again.
If you want the microphone, I'll give it to you.
No, I don't know as much as I think I do.
So, in any event, I'm not quite sure what he's talking about, but I don't think he does either. Just to let you know, the very first international convention I went to was when I was charter president of the Fitzsimmons Club, and it was held in Chicago. And if you have never been to an international convention, you are missing out. You realize how and I don't want to make it sound trivial, but how small we are in the whole cog of what's going on throughout the world. You see the native costumes from Kenya, and all of the pageantry is phenomenal. They have incredible speakers. When we went to New Orleans, Bill Gates was there. And everybody says, well, Bill can't talk. Well, he does a bunch of other things good, so who cares? But he gave a very inspirational talk about Polio Plus and how far we've come on that. When I was in Chicago, I got on a bus ride they transported us somewhere, and I ended up talking to one of Oprah Winfrey's best friends. I mean, you meet some of the most incredible people and their lasting relationships. We have gotten through our booth in the House of Friendship for Guitars for the Troops, met some incredible people, and they have taken the idea back to their own club to pursue it and do it in their club. So it's an opportunity that I don't think you'll ever quite get the same feeling, or let me put it this way, you'll feel differently about Rotary, because I have said numerous times, there isn't much I wouldn't do to help a fellow Rotarian. And you really see it there. The last convention that we were at, Laura Bush spoke. And I don't always get to go to all of the breakout sessions because I am in the House of Friendship, but they really tackle some difficult topics like the opioid crisis and depression and suicide and things that all of us are really trying to say is an important topic that we need to tackle somehow. So I would encourage anybody who's even thinking about it to go, because it'll be an experience you won't forget.
Right. Thank you, Deb. Has anyone else been to an RI convention? Great. So I'm going to Hawaii in May, so probably not going to be able to do back-to-back trips, but if I can, I will. All right. Any other business before I move on to travel gifts?
Being the professional speaker that I am, I come up for the fourth time, and I apologize for that. But one thing we want to tell you about Water Rico is if you can't go but you want to help out with monetary help for the people who are going, because we have to pay our own airfare, our own travel, our own lodging, and our own food. We'd appreciate if you want to help out monetarily. I've already had 2 members of the club that have told me that they'll donate to help pay the expenses. So it's on the sheet there. If you want to help out with that, please let us know. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, John, for that reminder. Any other business? No? Do we have any travel gifts? Kathy?
I was lucky enough to get to go to Connecticut and Rhode Island, and I got to stay on Long Island Sound, and I went to a little place called Block Island, and so we have so many gift donations of wine bottles, so I thought I better get a Block Island wine bottle opener. It's a really spiffy one. And then I went to a place called Lavender Pond Farms, and of course I had to get some little lavender sachets, but the good thing that I got was, this is called lemon square mix, but it's lemon and lavender, and you put some lemon curd and some whipped cream on top, and you're in heaven, and they're just delicious. So that's my gifts. Thank you.
Great. David?
Well, we spent 9 days on the coast of Maine, and although we were unable to figure out how to keep the lobster alive from now until Christmas, we just went ahead and ate those. But as a travel gift, this lovely bowl, of course, came from China via the garden center on Holly. But in that bowl is blueberry muffin mix, wild blueberries from Maine, blueberry jam, very attractive blueberry napkins, and to decorate the napkin that all this fits in, so you can serve your blueberry muffins hot in your Holly Street container. It was a great trip.
So why is that not blue? Just wondering.
Because let me tell you how many places in Denver. Let me tell you how many places in Denver in the month of August do not sell white baskets, which was the original. Yeah. Name one, they didn't have it. So this was default at the last second. So
Well, thank you, David. Do we have any other travel gifts?
in Maine, Algonquin for a couple of nights, Rockland for a couple of nights, Bar Harbor for 4 nights, hiking in Acadia. It was a great 9 days.
Beautiful. All right. Happy. Ann?
I usually end up with these things, and then we have to wait for Diana. So I'm going to suggest that if you have a travel gift and Diana's not here, keep it until she does come.
And how exactly will I know when that's going to be? Okay.
You just bring it every week.
All right, I'll do that.
Bring it, all right. Leave it in the car. All right. Gordon, you want to do Happy Bucks?
Do I have a...
Mike?
Mike?
Yep.
Mike? I'll start with my own table.
All right. I'm going to sit right on top of it. Yeah, I can start. Sure.
Yes. So as Tripp told everyone last week, I had a nose job, and I was still here on my birthday. It was all internal, nothing structural. But I'm feeling better. I can breathe. I don't sound like I'm sick anymore. So I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah. And also, and a second one. So I'm stealing it from you. I hit every green light on my way here today. So, yeah.
Anyone else? Come on, come on. We have the happiest table here. I mean, come on.
Come on, John, pull it out there.
Watch what you say there.
Thank you.
Just $1 for Tuesday.
For Tuesday?
Yeah. What a great day, right? Start off with Rotary.
I have $1 because I'm in a rare good mood. Thanks.
You're rare every week.
Oh. $1 for Rob. Welcome, Rob.
And I have $1 because I'm excited to be joining the club. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
I have $1. My daughter came in from her internship Sunday night, and I made her wake up Monday morning at about 6 o'clock, and we went to Rotary Peak. We hiked with the Evergreen Rotary Club, and there'll be some pictures coming towards John Peterson's way, so post that.
Thank you.
I have 3. I know, big money. Sunday was Nora's 8th anniversary of her stem cell transplant, so we always celebrate that as her 2nd birthday, which is awesome. My boy Eric starts school today, a week earlier than Cherry Creek, so whether you like it or not, summer is ending. And last but not least, Eric was at, as I mentioned, was at Young Ryla. Hands down, the best week of his summer. He was just so sad to leave. It is an incredible week of leadership training and I think just support for kids. And he just felt so at home there and made some really good friends in just a week. So thanks.
Anyone else here? Come on, come on. Yes. Good.
Just happy. Thanks.
Keep smiling. I'll take all of it.
Happy to be here. It's Tuesday. Happy it's Tuesday.
All right.
I'm just happy it's Tuesday after Monday I had yesterday, so I'm happy to be here.
Just happy to be here.
Yeah, just one. Just one. I sit on the Long Range Planning Committee for Arapahoe County, and today we are making a no-go or no-go recommendation to the county commissioners about a $1 billion tax increase for the jail. So I'm not saying how I'm going to present that or not, whether I'm positive or negative at this point.
Going to give a happy 5. I'm not happy because I had to pay the fine for getting picked up by this cop that was a real jerk. But it turned out to be a good deal because in going through the security that you have to go through before you pay your fine, I sold a box of peaches.
All right, how about this table over here? We're going to start with you.
$1, just happy to be here.
I have a happy dollar to see Paul Horiuchi back, the smiling face.
There's 3 happy travel dollars. First 2 are for Thursday, Friday. We took our grandkids down to Colorado Springs. Went to North Pole, went to the Dinosaur Museum up in Woodland Park, if you ever get a chance to go up there. And then we did the Air Force Academy. I do have the slide burns from the North Pole to prove that I went down the slide with my granddaughter. That's my travel gift. And then the third travel dollar is a solitary travel dollar. For those of you that like to drive, I had to do a one-day business trip yesterday to inspect properties in Albuquerque and Las Vegas, New Mexico. And went down there, the drive from Santa Fe up to Las Vegas, through the mountains, blue skies, white clouds, set the cruise control on 80 miles an hour, and turn on the tunes. That was the perfect antidote to the grandkids.
So I have 3 as an IOU, 2 for our guest speakers, Ron and Chris. Really appreciate you being with us today. Thank you. And the third one was for that the drug take back. That really was an eye-opener for me. Unbelievable, the amount of medication people have in their homes. It's not safe. It needs to be properly disposed of. And just really enjoyed being part of that.
I have 2 Water Rico leadership thank yous, one for Mark and one for John.
I have $1 because, as you may recall, last week my niece was here. She and her husband and her family live in Zhuhai, China, and I was really glad to see those boys go, because for the same reason that Vern was, yeah, because they're noisy, and we are not.
I have one. I find a way not to usually be at Rotary on my birthday, and then the bulletin next week will have my wife and my anniversary in it. And so I usually am not here for those 2 bulletins, but I have a happy buck for next week's 50th anniversary with my lovely wife.
Did I miss anyone? Yes.
I have 2 happy bucks. I'm just happy to be here and see you guys. It's been 3 weeks. I also had a legal question for Randy Ernest. You know, I do know that school is starting today, and isn't there something in the Constitution about cruel and unusual punishment?
My son, yeah.
Thank you.
Happy to be here, and my first slide should get you all stirred up.
Ooh. I have $3. Soccer season again, so I can start bragging about my granddaughter. Her team, Real, was invited to the invitation-only tournament, Surf Cup, which is one of the largest tournaments in the United States. No Colorado team has won it. My granddaughter's team did.
Okay, and I have a happy buck. This is the season for concerts and that type of thing. This weekend, Deborah and I are taking our Guitars for the Troops up to Guitar Town, which is at Copper Mountain, and there's two days full of concerts and that sort of thing, and we'll have a booth up there for Guitars for the Troops.
Beautiful. And I will need an IOU. I have 3. One for our guests. Thank you for coming. And our speaker, We're excited to have you. One, for the opioid take back. It's just always eye-opening, like Tom said, to have that kind of medication, and it's just in one community. Imagine if we did that in others, how much we could take off the streets and out of the medication cabinets. And then number 3 is, we had the Diverse Perspectives Book Club on Thursday. It was the very first one. We had a few people kind of bail out last minute, but we did have 2 wonderful women show up. One is a very good potential for our satellite club, and so I'm going to be pursuing that. But it was just a really great discussion. We have another one on Sunday. Cheryl and I will be leading that, so looking forward to just getting a little bit more out into the public with what Rotary does and having more awareness in this diversity and perspective awareness. So that's it. All right, so Tom, are you introducing our speaker today?
Yes, I can do that.
Great.
Okay, so this morning we have Ron Clausen, Chris Glazer from the Friends of Castlewood Canyon State Park. I know, just hearing from conversation, many of you perhaps have been there. It's a beautiful canyon, beautiful park, and it also has a very interesting history because of the dam failure, and the impact that had on Denver. So I really appreciate both of them being here today, and they'll have a great presentation for us.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. I work for AT&T, so let me get out of the way. So hopefully here, we'll be up in a second. But anyway, starting off, I work for Castlewood Canyon State Park. I was actually a storyteller, so don't be surprised if I ramble on. And then I'm a past president of Friends of Castlewood Canyon. Now I'm just a volunteer, one of those guys. So I actually spent 20 years trying to figure out where the name Castlewood came from. So good morning, Castlewood Rotary. We're over here. There it is. Da-da-da-da. And guess what? This is where Castlewood, Colorado is. Just right down the street. Quebec and Arapahoe Road. So, if you didn't know that, I assume that's why Castlewood is named Castlewood Dam and Castlewood Canyon State Park and all of that kind of history. So, that's kind of a kick. Just to know. It is controversial. There we go. I know, tough to see and stuff. I have stared at the stupid picture for years. But when I look at it, any developers in here, construction people, realtors, there was a concept of building a dam for irrigation in 1880. Great idea. The Castlewood Dam was built in 1890. It took 10 years. The whole purpose was this fellow, and I'll mess up his name because it was Rufus Potato Clark, and I always want to call him Potato Head. He had this great idea, sell all these plots down here in Castlewood. Castlewood's right about in there. And that was it. But how do you water stuff in the July, August, September time frame when it's not raining? Well, you build this reservoir way down here with a dam and stuff like that, and you let the water go and do the irrigation. Oh, all that makes sense. For some of you history buffs, here is Sullivan. That is at the bottom of Cherry Creek Reservoir today. Here is a small town of Melvin that's believed to be Parker Road and Quincy Street. So that should give you an idea of where all of this stuff is. When I look on here, there is no way to get the water from the reservoir to the fields. But that was accomplished by 215 guys and 180 teams of horses putting in a canal. Here is one of the fun, of course, underlined Castlewood. Here is one of the interesting facts. We just had dam day. And I stood at the bottom of the dam and talked to about 100 people. And one of the things I like to say, it took 85 guys 11 months to build the dam at a cost of $350,000. Anybody going by said, "You gotta be kidding me." And I go, "No OSHA, no EPA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." So maybe that's why it was so cheap. But just, you don't see any real mechanical advantage there except the derrick. The guys are pulling on ropes. No steam engines, nothing like that. So that was kind of an interesting feat. One of the big questions that comes up often is, well, where did they get the stone? Well, if you've ever been to Castlewood, it's got those big rock cliffs, Castle Rock conglomerate and stuff like that. They actually drilled, blasted, and then let the rocks roll down, and then they kind of moved them and put them in place. So that's where the rocks came from, which is, you're going to hear later, maybe one of the reasons why the dam failed. If you're into the engineering of it all, we have an engineering drawing. We've studied that quite a bit. There's a bigger version over here to come up and look at, and things like that. But basically, it was a big gravity dam. The back wall is at a 45-degree angle, so it leans into the water. So that's the purpose. It's straight. It's not like Hoover Dam where it's hugging the water. It's just straight as an arrow. Really kind of interesting stuff. The scary part is this valve chamber here. There are 8 valves down there. I imagine good old Hugh Payne and others going down there to let the water out. You climb down this rickety old ladder, you open those valves, that's going to start filling up. There's going to be a lot of water rushing under you. Then, whoops, wrong button. This happens to me all the time. I tell my wife, hands. So then you go up, open those. So imagine, it's dark down there. There's no electric lights. There's no flashlights. There's none of this really cool stuff. So you open the valves and it's rushing in under you. There's even a worse story coming up. So it's interesting. We've studied this a couple of times, just trying to look at it and understand the construction of the dam. So if there's any engineers, jump right in and tell us what was wrong, what happened, stuff like that. When we go through why the dam failed, maybe a geologist would like to have a little input. So here's a picture of the dam when it's done, with the lake in the background. That's Lake Louisa. Louisa was the wife of George Engel, homesteader of 1864. She would bring these guys, and she lived up at the top end of the lake. She would bring these guys 2 meals a day, cook for them, 2 meals a day. The afternoon, evening meal, whatever you want to call it, she brought whiskey, and it was medicinal. So, okay, you got that? It's medicinal. So, that was her thing. She did it. So in honor, the dam workers named the reservoir Lake Louisa. So it's a little, and we keep handing that story down, and there's even a sign that talks about it, because we really can't find anything in any real documentation other than stories being handed down. Remember, I'm a storyteller. That's my job, to pass this stuff on to you guys. And it's a kind of a nice dam. That's about 1895, about 5 years after the dam was built. Do you notice anything that looks a little strange about that picture? Is that a leak? Yes, it is. That is a big leak. That leak was there in 1891, the first year it was built. Denver was all in panic. Oh my gosh, it's going to fail and all this stuff. And of course, the engineer would say, oh no, it'll never break in your lifetime or generations to come, da 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 da. And it just goes on and on and on. But there was concern downstream. Yes?
Well, when we went on Saturday, they said that that's a signed spillway. So it's not.
No, no. You don't really see, oh, I should use the pointer, right? That's what I got it for. Oh, yeah. That's the spillway. Over there on the side, which is actually off the picture, is called the bypass. Okay, so when you look at, whoops.
Now I can tell my husband he was right.
You know, I'm used to walking up and pointing at the screen. Here is the bypass. So this is where the water would have actually come out when it was too full. So that would mean that the spillway here in the middle, which is right up there, and those were in case the lake got too full and decided to overflow and all of this other stuff. If you go to the park today and you take the trail that goes up here, there's a trail right now that goes in the front, you will see where the dam is bulged out. You can actually see the rocks are moved out from that leak. But no, the spillway, the bypass, is over here, and it very rarely had any water coming through it. And one of the fixes was they blocked it off so that water wouldn't go that way, because one of the big concerns is that with this water rushing down, it would erode underneath the dam, the footings, and it would fail. So that was a big concern that they had. You can see why I usually end up going over time, because there's so much stuff. So there you go. Some of the things that, yes?
You have the leak coming down on the right, but it also looks like there's water coming out at the very bottom, down below the spillway.
Yay!
That's the way.
Just wait. Because some of the reasons it failed was muskrats. I want to go, see, I got a naturalist patch. You know, that doesn't mean I go around the park nude. It means I study the plants, animals, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm, yay, muskrats, because if muskrats could undo what these 85 guys did, I'm going to cheer them. So anyway, yeah, that, and we'll talk about that a little later. That is really kind of probably the more reasonable answer. Why do I say that? And it's amazing. Saturday, people come up and say, oh, look at the leak. That's why the dam failed. And I say, what part of the dam is still there? Right there. Oh, this part of the dam is still there today. Yeah. This part is gone. So, but anyway, for those that are really interested in the size of the lake, it was fairly big and stuff like that. If you know where Castlewood Canyon Road is, or County Road 51, here is the leak, the curve in the road. The Engel homestead is down here. So the lake came all the way up here, and this is Inner Canyon Trail, and went probably halfway up the trail. This little spot here is verification that we have UFOs in the park. So one landed when they were taking this image along Spear Boulevard. So in 1933, 86 years ago, August 3rd, 1:20 a.m., yada, da, 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 it failed. It flooded downtown Denver under 4 feet of water. People say, really? And you go, yes. I have a 12-minute video of all of that stuff going on. But you know where that concrete ditch is? On Spear Boulevard. That's it. You see the walls? Not too much. So water was flooding down there quite rapidly, things like that. Anybody been to Larimer Street? There's water in Larimer Street. So, mud all over the place. One of my favorite stories is say, I'm so happy that your laptop doesn't work because the camera isn't working. Not being recorded. He was my veterinarian. His dad was here as a kid working for a bakery. His dad quit August 2nd. The flood happened. The bakery hired him to clean out the basement where they stored all the flour. I just sit there and think, wow, what a fun job that would be. Holy cow. Aerial photograph of the area. So if you know a little bit about Denver, here is Spear Boulevard. That is the REI flagship store today. At the time, it was the trolley electrical power plant for the trolleys in Denver. Here is Cherry Creek coming down that concrete ditch. This is where Elitch's, Pepsi Center, all that stuff is now. That was big railroad yard, things like that. And when you look, that's all water. This is all water coming up these streets, coming up from the Pepsi Center right now and stuff like that. So it did affect downtown Denver quite a bit. I've talked to some old boys who were around at the time, and they remember stuff that happened. That people ask quite often, how many people died? To my story, one person. An old boy living in downtown Denver stepped out onto his back porch, saw all this water, stepped off the back porch, fell in a hole and drowned. There's another story that goes around. A woman was riding her horse and wanted to ride over and check out the damage caused by the dam, and she was thrown. And the horse probably was a little startled because there were dead cows, etc., etc., etc. So the horse smelled death, reared, bolted, whatever. She fell off and she died. Well, that's poor horsemanship, not the dam in my... You know, I am an ex-cowboy. That's poor horsemanship, so... So why did it fail? You know, that's a big question. And there's been a number of answers. You guys can vote, because guess what? We don't know the real answer. There is a master's thesis, the paper out there, that says they use Castle Rock conglomerate, which is the stuff on the cliff walls. Well, when you look at Castle Rock, and they blasted it, all that stuff. When you look at the Castle Rock conglomerate, it isn't flat. It's not like a brick. It's not like a block. It's just uneven. So, okay, I get that. over time, moving around, break the mortar, yada, da, da, da. I get that. That's what this one dude's idea was. Then there's the thought about substandard fill. Well, I could go with that as well because all they used was debris from construction. You know, they're chipping away at the conglomerate. They've got dirt, sand, all this stuff, throwing it in there and stuff like that. So, okay, I could go with that. Then, of course, we have the infamous, it was built on Dawson Arcos. Well, yeah, that's really not a really good surface to build on. It's kind of a really soft, the geologists call it a rock, but if I can scrape it with my fingers and it goes, that's not a rock to me. But, okay, so they built it on Dawson Arcos. Okay. Then my favorite, muskrats. I really like muskrats. I don't know why. Well, here is Hugh Payne. He was a dam caretaker. Oh, I forgot to mention, ask all the damn questions you want, by the way. If you come out to the park, take all the damn pictures you want. So, the night it failed, and Hugh lived, this is the dam caretaker's house, but it was abandoned in 1913. The dam failed in 1933. He actually lived around the corner in another house about here. And so he headed to the dam that night. Did he have his cell phone with his little flashlighty thing in it? No. Did he have a flashlight? No. He had a kerosene lantern. You know, one of those farm ones you see. So he gets out there, and his report is at 11:15, as he was getting ready to walk out on the dam, 11:15 at night, so it's dark, little lantern, cloudy because it was raining and stuff like that. The water was below the top of the dam. Well, say it looked about like that. 15 minutes later, the water was coming over the top of the dam and coming through the front of the dam. 15 minutes later, his report is, it was 13 feet below the level of the dam. A little while later, it's coming over the top of the dam again. How would you like to walk out there with water sloshing over the top of the dam with a little kerosene light? He said he heard tornadic winds. So there was a storm going on. He said he had never heard of those winds before. A few miles east of the Castlewood Dam, a woman was killed that night by a tornado. So I'm thinking, I have this big hunk of water here and a tornado sitting over it. Low pressure, right? Isn't that a tornado? Sucking the water up like a pyroclastic flow. The water got too heavy and fell. Then it sucked it back up. Then it fell. So that probably caused the sloshing. So now what you've got is the muskrats. Yay, muskrats. And the water beating against the back of the dam, just hammering away. And if the rocks are not very stable per the thesis and all of that, it'll probably fail. And today what's left is this part here where the big leak was, and this is all missing. The tower is still there. So that is kind of the story of the good old dam and why it failed. Yes?
Ron, looking at this picture, what is the vertical height of the dam at that spillway section, the greatest height?
That's about 85 feet.
85.
It's about 600 feet long. That spillway is 5 feet by, I think, 35 feet. The 5 feet is interesting because here, last year I think it was, we were trying to map how high the dam was, the top of the dam over here. So we were calculating where the height of the dam is and flagged it. And some of that kind of fun stuff. There's a group of us, Chris and I are a part of it. And we just go out there and we're trying to answer a lot of questions, and we have no real answers. We have more questions than, never mind. Yes?
So when we hiked this night, I've hiked many, many times, all three of the trails there. The smaller trail has large boulders in the middle of the river.
Mm-hmm.
I often wondered how those boulders get there. Was that from the blast?
No. When I take kids and people for hikes in the canyon, they'd ask, where these boulders come from and all of that stuff. And I said, well, someday there'll be a slide. And then, May 12th, 2012, there was a slide. It's a huge slide. But there were a number of us that what we would do is go out and repair, work on the trails. And it seemed like every year or two, there'd be a new big boulder that would come down and block a trail, and then some of us would go out and try to remove the boulder or reroute the trail, because those boulders are big. So this is just normal erosion. So if you think 35 million years ago, that place was flat. There was no topography. All of this conglomerate washed down, it was flat. So Cherry Creek, which 35 million years ago, nobody named it yet, they actually started to erode down. Well, as it cuts through the rocks will cave in and the canyon gets wider and wider and wider. So most of those boulders down there are actually the natural process of geology. Yes?
To help me put this in perspective, would you compare or how would you compare the surface area as well as the volume of water to something like Cherry Creek Reservoir? Is it bigger, larger?
Cherry Creek is larger. Reuter Hess is much larger than Cherry Creek, Chatfield, all of those others. Reuter Hess is huge compared to these. And Reuter Hess is much, much deeper. And the reason is so that there's less surface area for evaporation. So they designed that reservoir and dam to minimize evaporation and all that stuff. This wasn't all that deep. Any other questions? Oh, and some people ask, what's the name of that building right there? That is the Kleinert property. The house was there. You go by now and there's a dairy barn which was built in 1914, which helps me date that picture. Yes?
Did the guy whose idea it was for the dam and selling the plots, did he ever make any money on that development?
The dam went through 8 bankruptcies. No. But if you want some shares of stock, I can sell it to you. Cash only. No credit cards, none of that stuff. Yes?
I'm not familiar with the story of the dam. So this gentleman's out there recording all this, 11:15, 11:30, 11:45. Did he stay all the way through to 1:20 in the morning? And then what was the subsequent after effect of people living downstream?
Well, good old Hugh, when he noticed the dam giving way, he decided, I have to tell people about this. And he didn't have a phone. So what he planned on doing was, this is Castlewood Canyon Road, County Road 51 right now. So he was going to get out, he was going to come around the corner on his horse and head down and go into Castle Rock to start calling people. Well, the problem is, with all the rain and stuff over here, and you still can go see it, the road washed out. So what he had to do was take a secondary road and went up over the top. And if you're familiar with Castle Rock, he went to Ridge Road down into Castle Rock, and he started calling. At the same time, there were ranchers and stuff along Cherry Creek where all the water was coming. They started hearing noises, and they called the Parker telephone office. Nettie Driscoll was an operator there. Oh my gosh, and she started calling Denver Police and Denver Fire, and that's how only one person died in Denver, because the fire department, police department, all of that. I have an old story from an old boy that said, well, his father, grandfather, was along the creek on his branch, and the water started raising, so he said, well, I'm going to climb a telephone pole. So he went up a step or two. Well, the water followed him. He went up a step or two. The water followed him. Went up a step or two, and the water actually went through. Killed a lot of cows, washed up a few houses. But remember, in 1933, there wasn't a lot of habitation down there. Everybody know where Parker is? In 1980, Main Street of Parker was a dirt road. The Warhorse, Stephen Strain, owned it. He said cowboys would ride their horse into the Warhorse, tie him up to the hitching post out in front, as cowboys do, get drunk, and then they go out and get on their horse and try to ride home again. So back then, there weren't a lot of people downstream. Yes?
Down being from this is, the first parking lot is the old ruins of a homestead.
The Lucas Homestead. No, and that's a fun story. When I started working for the park, there were two completely separate stories. There was the homestead, the dam. Nobody thought to put them together. Well, I was standing at the homestead one day and talking to Bob Metzler, grandson. He said the master bedroom was in the front of the house. So when you're at the concrete house, 2-story, bedroom, window looking up the canyon. When you look up the canyon, you'll notice it kind of comes around Landslide Meadows and then turns and comes straight to the canyon. So you imagine all this water hitting that corner and sloshing up. That's going to be noisy. 1:20 a.m. You're going to hear that noise, so the Lucases would have heard the noise. They would have looked out the window. 1:20, 1:30, it's dark. But then you see a flash of lightning. And all of a sudden, holy crap, it's coming right for us. And so they had to be really scared. But where the homestead house is actually situated is far enough above the creek, they were not affected. Maybe some of their land down below was affected, but most of their farming and the cultivated fields were higher than the house. And then they had milk cows, so the milk cows would have been closer to the house. So they were really unaffected by it, other than it had to be scary that night. Yes?
Denver's been subjected to numerous floods.
Yeah.
And not including the 1965 flood. How does this flood rate or rank against the other floods?
This one to Denver was worse. The 65 flood was devastating to Castle Rock. So And that's Plum Creek and all of that stuff. So, yeah, this one was worse. To Denver.
What did the 65 flood do to Casper? I lived in Denver and I remember that one.
It did washed out buildings, stuff like that, washed out bridges, all of that kind of stuff in Castle Rock. So do I.
So we have time for one more question.
That's fine. I don't know how many slides I got. Oh, if you're a geologist and you go out to the canyon, you notice the cliffs, the straight up and down cliffs. Well, here's pictures right after the dam failed. And here's the footings. If you're out there today, you walk along that trail that goes under the dam. You look up at the footings because they're what, 20, 30 feet up? You look from this area. This is where I was standing on Saturday, unfortunately about 10, 20 feet below the surface. When the dam failed, it scoured the vegetation. And all of those big, steep cliffs have happened since the flood, the failure. So the geologists are really interested in that. They claim 2 or 3 feet a year of erosion in the canyon. So another picture, 1933. I took that in 2008. You can see there's a big difference. I'm done. Oh, by the way, you know, you're the Castlewood Rotary. Well,
Centennial.
I'm trying to, you know, there's a number of us. I want to change the name of the park because in 1902 it was Wildcat Canyon, which sounds cooler than Castlewood Canyon, right? Wildcat Rotary. Whoa.
It's our new satellite group, right?
Cool.
Well, thank you, Ron. We have, so as a little gift, we do a book plate in some books for a library that we support. So for every speaker, we create one. So this is an example of what we will be putting in a book in your honor.
You.
And then we have one additional task for you. So we have what's called a blue marble drawing. So we purchased a raffle.
But the bowl
it's a legal
is white.
raffle.
Well,
This is white helmet.
Yeah, okay.
So if you could just pick a ticket and read the last 3 numbers.
You assume I can see, but looks like 442.
Anyone? Hey, John.
There you go.
All right. So so he gets $10 for lunch, and then he gets to pick marbles.
Let me just point out, there's a winner every week.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Yes.
No.
Hold it high.
Keep us all up. Is it the truth?
Is it?
But think of this drawing as a benefit to all concerned.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you to our speakers. If you want to stand for all the things that we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Beneficial to all concerned. Bye.